Episode 7 of The Traitors is where this season really turns a corner. And this is the episode where instinct, psychology, and power all collide, and where the game officially shifts from group suspicion to individual survival. And by the end of this hour, it's no longer faithful versus traitors. It's traitor versus traitor. So instead of doing a straight recap, I'm breaking down episode 7 through 5, psychological power moves and mistakes that completely change the game, and what they tell us about how people behave under pressure. One of the biggest themes in this episode is survivor instinct and how it backfires on the traitors. So quite literally, the people who are coming from Survivor, the players like Natalie and Jam Jam, they operate with hyper-vigilance. And the moment danger feels real, their bodies react before logic catches up. Immunity becomes irresistible and safety feels urgent. And that works on Survivor, where deception is expected and rewarded. But on the traitors, that same instinct reads as guilt. Natalie's urgency to get the antidote at the Black Banquet, for example, it wasn't irrational. She was in danger. But acting on that instinct put a real spotlight on her. Jam Jam did the same thing earlier in the season, if you recall. He was on a mission with Mora, and there was an opportunity to get a shield, even though the whole group decided that anyone who took the shield was going to be banished. He still considered it. And so even when the optics are bad, there's this survivor instinct to go for any kind of safety that you can secure. And that does keep you alive on Survivor, but it turns you into a suspect on the traitors. So that brings us to the Black Banquet. It was visually stunning and emotionally charged. I loved it. But psychologically, it created something even more dangerous: ambiguity. Jam Jam's exit wasn't a normal banishment or a clean murder. It was chaotic. It was emotional. It was fast. And that moment could have lived in a gray zone. And that gray zone was Lisa's opportunity. But instead, Lisa made a critical mistake, and she turned ambiguity into a binary. She made it his word, Jam Jam's word, versus hers. That's a big mistake, because in a game built on suspicion, binary conflicts are deadly. Because, of course, when two players disagree on a concrete interaction, the group instinctively assumes someone has to be lying. And herein lies the rub. Jam Jam was on his way out. He had no motive to lie. Lisa had every motive to protect herself. And so she went into fight or flight mode. But psychologically, it backfired. The power move here on Lisa's part would have been to lean into the ambiguity and just say she couldn't really remember if she kissed Jam Jam or not at the banquet. And then that keeps the narrative fuzzy. See, her mistake was over-defending, over-explaining, and then focusing the group on one story and asking them to choose a side. And on the traitors, ambiguity protects you. Certainty can expose you. And so this brings us to one of the smartest moments of the episode. I mean, Rob continues to impress me, man. Rob's interrogation during the dagger challenge was epic. Great move on his part to ask the baseline questions he already knows the answers to. This is a classic interrogation technique. Basically, lying creates cognitive load, right? So when someone is telling the truth, their body is generally relaxed. And when they lie, their brain is juggling the truth, the lie, their body language, and the other person's reactions all at once. And that overload tends to leak through hesitation or eye avoidance, dry mouth, lip licking. This is why when people are at the round table and they're drinking less excessive amounts of water, other people sometimes call them out because of that nervous reaction. So I knew Natalie was lying, because when she was asked by Rob something about whether or not she had the dagger, she licked her lips before she even went to go respond. And I knew that that wasn't random. It was her physiological response to stress. And Rob was smart to clock it immediately. He wasn't listening to what people were saying. He was really watching how they said it. It's a player move. That's not arrogance. That's applied psychology. Survivor players don't struggle on the Traitors because they're bad liars. No, 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 no. They struggle because everyone expects them to be dangerous. So I think back to season 1 of the Traitors when Cirie Fields won as a traitor. She didn't just win the game, she completely rewired it. And Survivor players are now preloaded threats. They're assumed to be cunning. They're assumed to have stamina, right? Like physical stamina to get through all the competitions. And their instincts are constantly monitored. So, for example, you look at Natalie. Natalie isn't just playing against the players, she's playing against Cirie's legacy. And that expectation alone changes how every move is interpreted. Now, here's the real headline of episode 7. With Lisa gone, the game becomes a two-traitor endgame, Rob versus Candace. And at this stage, loyalty is no longer an asset. It's a goddamn liability. So Candace is right to question Rob. He turned on a fellow traitor. He chose his own longevity over the group's survival. Rob made a cold, rational calculation. This is the moment when the traitors stop being social and they become surgical. So someone's got to strike first. And there's no version of this where both Candace and Rob make it to the end. I mean, am I right? Oh, and at this point, I also want to give some flowers to Colton, because I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Colton really showed excellent self-awareness in this episode. He clocked Lisa as a traitor early, but he knew he couldn't lead the charge against her, and he deliberately took a step back, and that restraint really matters. So kudos to my man Colton, because sometimes the best move is no move. Okay, so now as I've done every single week, it's time to check the power rankings, and I'm going to pull up the tier list and walk through who's rising, who's in danger, and whose game just took a hit after episode 7. And this is where the momentum is really starting to become visible. Okay, so we know Lisa is gone. She was banished at the round table to the joy and excitement of all of the faithfuls. We also know that unfortunately, Jam Jam is also gone bye-bye. Colton, great move last episode. I'm going to actually move him up to strong position. And I think he's got a good ally in Rob as well. Rob seems to want to play with him and maybe take him to the end. So I think Colton's actually going to get promotion this week. Steven actually got into some hot water at the banquet. I think he was the one asking people to turn over some tarot cards, which immediately seemed like it could have been a traitor move. He seems to have squirmed his way out of it because obviously they got a traitor when they tagged Lisa. But yeah, he took a little bit of heat this episode. I'm gonna leave him where he's at. I don't think he's in a bad position. But again, I don't know. I don't really feel winner at it. If he does get it to the end, maybe he's gonna get dragged. But I'm gonna keep him here. Same with Dorinda. I'm keeping her here as well, too. I think these are all people that are useful for votes, but I don't see them getting to the end necessarily. With Eric, again, it's not really doing much to warrant me moving him to strong position. But then again, he's not really slacking off either. He's kind of, well-liked, not showing off, but also not really falling behind in terms of faithful behavior. He makes educated guesses, although he's been a lot more careful since his magic ears led someone else, Tiffany to be exact, astray in the last round. So he's been quiet for obvious reasons. I'm going to leave him where he's at. Where things get interesting, of course, when we get to the strong position. And as I said, got a little promotion this week. Mark is now actually in the game. Welcome to the game, Mark, because I'm going to leave him here. He's making great alliances with people all around. I think he's in a good position. Kristen as well is also in a pretty good position. Her name keeps getting mentioned when people talk about people that could be threats, but so far, no one's really coming for her. Johnny is playing an excellent game. Excellent game. If not for the dominance of this season's two traitors, I might even put Johnny up in winning position. I'm going to keep him here and strong, but I think he's actually kind of becoming a leader amongst the faithfuls, and his reads are really, really good. He's very, very observant. Mora is like you know, socially, she's doing a great job. People like her. She speaks at the round table, but knows when to shut up. I'm going to keep her exactly where she's at and strong. Natalie, now this is where it gets interesting. Natalie, everyone knows she's a strong player. That's never been an issue. Like, the issue is that everyone knows it. And so I do think she belongs in a strong position. However, she got into a little bit of hot water in the last episode because she, as I mentioned earlier, was so desperate to get the antidote at the Black Banquet that it almost looked like traitor behavior. And that put a lot of eyeballs on her. So I think she's kind of in the hot seat. Although I don't really think she's in too much danger. She also made another gaffe. I think she was talking to Tara Lipinski. Just a Freudian slip, maybe. She mentioned murdering somebody, which, of course, sounds traitorous as hell. Her in strong position. I think she'll be okay this week. If they don't go after her this week, that is. But yeah, she's kind of teetering between and strong, but I'm still going to keep her in strong. Tara Lipinski, as I just mentioned, got into a little bit of a dust up over the antidote of the Black Banquet. She really felt that she'd been poisoned by some mystery meat, I guess, on one of the buffet table trays. But because I think she's generally well respected, well liked, and I haven't really heard her name come up as unfaithful. Where things get interesting, honestly, where I think the game is really at right now, is when we get to winning position. Traitor versus traitor, and I almost, unless someone takes one of these two out, honestly, I see a traitor winning this game. And I think both exceptional games. Each week, I've been giving my MVP to Rob or Candace. This week, I am going to slightly give it to Rob for a risky move in going after Lisa. But I go for the queen, you best not miss. And his target was dead on. So I'm going to give Rob MVP this week, leaving him in the winning position, and right along is fellow traitor Candace, because I think these two are playing. And really interesting aspect now of this game is seeing what happens next week when we have traitor versus traitor, and who's going to get got first. So there you have it. Episode 7 proves one thing very clearly, and that is that this game doesn't reward instinct, it rewards timing. And so from here on out, it's every player for themselves. So let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to go out first? Is it going to be Rob or Candace? And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe so that you don't miss my next Traitor update. And until next time, alchemists, stay curious.